Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us in what I'm calling this weekend edition of Hebrew Word Study. I know it doesn't come every weekend, but hopefully I'll be able to do a little bit better. But the studying has just taken me down, um, I don't know, pathways, I guess you can say, of just enhancement of feeling like there's so much treasure to mine out of these verses. And of course, as you remember, I'm studying in the Matthew Hebrew version, um, or Hebrew version of Matthew from what's called a Harley document that's housed in um, London Library. And so just it's been fascinating, and it has taken me a long time because it's an ancient document. I'm going through it and breaking the words into their parts and verb forms and studying that and looking at cross references in the Hebrew Bible, just to see, as Jesus is teaching, um, and using the Hebrew of what he may have been speaking. I know many feel he spoke Aramaic. I think it may have been a blending, and especially if he was quoting passages of the Bible, he may have gone back and forth. And so that's where I'm finding the uh, uh, meaning for me is looking at this Hebrew version of Matthew and thinking, okay, Jesus might be speaking in Aramaic, but when he gets to these verses, that have a base in the Hebrew Bible, could he have switched to Hebrew? And that's maybe why I'm finding such great meaning here because of the connection to the Hebrew verses and so of the Bible. So that's where I want to take you today. So we're in Matthew chapter 5. The Beatitudes or Sermon on the Mount, and we're in verse 9. And as it would read here, Ashrei Shalemim Hi b'nei ha-Elohim yitareu. And many times, in English, this is translated as "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God." That's pretty much what you're going to find everywhere. Well, as I read that and thought about it, it's like, what does this mean? Blessed are the peacemakers. I think I can understand that, being called sons of God. There's just words that the more I meditate and thought about them, the more challenging they became for me to understand. There's a surface meaning in Hebrew study. There's a levels of study that's talked about in an acronym called PARDIS. There's the Peshat, which means simple. Basically, what you get when you read it and you look at the words, your 5 second assessment as to what it means is the Peshat, the simple meaning. Then there is the uh, Duresh, there's the something that speaks to your heart. It lets you know that there's something deeper, and so you dig into this. And there's the Remez, this is where your heart just meditates on it, and you can't get the thoughts out of your mind. And then there's the Sod, which is the deeper esoteric spiritual meanings of these words. And something that we're challenged to study, and they may mean many things to many different people and different things. And so I'm sharing with you what's been going around in my mind for the past 2 weeks since I've done the last one, as I go through these 6 words and have been profoundly impacted by them, especially on this first word, shalemim. It's comes from the word shalom. It means peace. Okay, and but yet, okay, what is it to be peace? And it's sometimes translated as peacemakers. Well, that word makers isn't there. It is shalemim. And so as I'm looking through the Old Testament Hebrew Bible, trying to find any word like this that's used anywhere. I can't find any. There's no word used that has this vowel pointing of the sere underneath the lamed and the meme underneath the uh, or the excuse me, the Hurric underneath the meme. There's just no pointing like that. So I went and took a look at some of the other places we can look, and we're going to go to Jastrows. And when I look up the Aramaic uh, Targumim reference to it, here it comes up, and it was so interesting. It talks about it as a peace offering. And so makes reference to offerings that were given in the Bible for peace offerings. Gives a reference in um, here, and it gives a reference in the Talmud about peace offerings that were given. And that's really where my mind started to go here as I think about um, okay, these aren't just people who are trying to make peace. These are people whose lives are being spent as a peace offering. They are totally committed to ensuring and trying to bring peace into an environment. And that would fit with this verb conjugation of the PL form of a very intensive, one of the most intensive forms of activity assigned to this verb. This isn't passive. This isn't lackadaisical. This is intense. This is all consuming, where they are giving of themselves, just like an offering in the Old Testament that was burnt on the sacrifice altar, that they are giving themselves for this purpose of achieving peace. Really added an intensity that was quite something. I also see that this word is used only one other place in the Hebrew Bible, and that is in Joel. And here you see in Joel chapter 3, verse 4, you'll see this word has the call out of 7999, and but yet it's not translated anything like that. It's not translated as peace. It also has the mem preposition in front of it. And when you read this context of where it's used in Joel, it is not talking about peace, but it's talking about the complete opposite of peace. It looks like there's war, there's bad things going on. And so it almost, again, this is in a PL form, but it's not translated in the real meaning. They just translate it as will, but there's more to it. It looks like it's someone that these people are against peace with the mem preposition, creating somewhat of a contrast that instead of peace, they are away from peace in a way that's going to cause retaliation. The hand of the Lord is going to be against them because they are not making peace in any way. And so I find that really interesting. Um, so where do we go from here? As we continue, um, we get to the next word, which is B'nai. Every translation will put this as sons of, but something that I've been finding as we study both the Aramaic and the Hebrew is when it talks about this word sons of, it is rarely ever speaking to a DNA or blood relationship, a family relationship. It's usually speaking in terms of having the characteristics of, and that is a uh, terminology used at the time when the Bible was written to convey someone who was like it. Like we would use the term, son of a gun, chip off the old block. He's the son of his father. And it may not even mean that, they are blood relatives, but that they embody all the characteristics. They have a similar representation, same characteristics being represented. It's almost like you had a carbon copy, if you will, that everything you would expect uh, this person you're making reference to embody, embrace, and speak and represent would be embodied in this other person, just like he was a clone or a son of. And so that's very helpful for me as I read where this is used in numerous passages in the Bible, son of, um, and use it in this terminology. Now, it can have the blood relationship, but most likely it will be characteristics of, or it may even be both. It's up to us, the reader, and the how it's impressed upon us to see and investigate both interpretations, both understanding. And especially when you get to this, what these people who are spent as peace offerings, and they would be representations of who? You'll find English translation will always take this word 430, which is Elohim, and translate it as God. But what they don't translate is this definite article of the hey in front of it, which means the God. Um, Another thing you'll notice as you study Hebrew is this word Elohim is used in many places in the Bible in reference to magistrates and rulers, judges, those in authority. Um, Jesus even used this reference sometimes of talking about people about being gods with a little g, using this word Elohim. And I believe that can be an application here that these rulers of the land were trying to keep peace. They were trying to be effective rulers to keep a peaceful society, to promote civility for the good of all mankind. And so that these people giving their whole lives working for peace, being spent like a peace offering, would be the embodiment or the representation of a good ruler, of someone who is steadfastly working for the good of the people to bring peace, to bring civility, they would be noted for their workings to create harmony and to bring people together and to have a society that was promoting goodness and support for one another. It wasn't marginalizing or belittling or building up, and one person at the expense of tearing down others, but it was a society or creating a kingdom like we would think God's kingdom would be, of where people are valued and everyone is seen as a child of God, created in God's image, that there be no barriers, no prejudices, nothing that would keep you from um, prejudice against another person. And so these are these people that are working in that realm. And then finally, the last verse, last word is yikareu, they shall be called. This is in a nifal form, which means that it's somewhat passive, but it's being told by others. Others are calling them that. They're not calling this themselves. And then the question stands to reason here is who will call them that? Is it God that will recognize them for what they're doing, or is it the people that they interact with that they will have a reputation for helping them and for being renowned, or maybe it's both. We go to Chronicles chapter 23, verse 14, for something that's very similar. It uses the word reckoned, talks about Moses and the sons in the tribe of Levi, and it uses this word here of being reckoned or being understood. It's somewhat of an accounting term that would say that they saw this, all the things added up in their mind, and they made this decision on what they were like. And so to me, these are very special people, obviously very valued in the eyes of God, valued enough that Jesus would speak about them and set this up as a model, if you will. This is what the Sermon on the Mount is. There would be attitudes that should be, and that we should be known as peacemakers and give ourselves to trying to bring civility, trying to bring harmony, trying to bring peace in our corner of the world. Because if it doesn't start with us, it isn't going to spread to anyone else. It has to start in our homes, in our workplaces, with our families, with our where we interact in our community, and it certainly sets up a very high goal for us to attain to and say, Lord, please use me in this realm, especially in these days that we're living in. So God bless you all. Thanks so much for listening, and look forward to sharing again with you next time. Bye-bye.